The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Now this is war. No, I won't stop now. I'm the fire breaking through. Now this is war. Now this is war. 'Cause as long as we still got a reason to hold on, we won't stop believing.
Hello and welcome to the Wrestling to the Max WWE 205 Live review for February 7th, 2017. I am your host, Sean Garmer. With me here, Mr. Paul Leazar.
Heyo.
Well, I feel like they might have finally turned that corner and figured it out with 205 Live after this show. They had promoted on Raw that there was going to be a fatal five-way to determine who was going to be the number one contender for to face Neville at Fastlane, and they did do that on the show. That was the main event of this show, but they had to figure out who was going to be the fifth person because that had not been named yet until we got to the first match on the show, which was Arya Daivari. Well, actually, it's because apparently the premier athlete, Tony Nese, is not medically cleared after the scuffle that happened on Raw with DJ Perkins and everything. So it's Mustafa Ali and Arya Daivari. Two guys of Middle Eastern descent, even though they did announce Mr. Mustafa Ali from Chicago. They've kind of gotten away from this whole like Mustafa Ali's trying to prove that he's got the name, but don't think of him that way kind of thing. He kind of just does that in the ring now without him having to proclaim it all the time, which I think is probably a better way to go about it, honestly. But this was 5 minutes, and hey, of course, Mustafa Ali is great. He's been that way since he first really debuted, and then you got Daivari, he is kind of what he is. He's the WWE style guy, really. I don't really necessarily hate what he does, but he doesn't, do a lot for you. But Ali makes up for it with his ridiculous stuff, and that tornado DDT that he hits is absolutely amazing.
I really love the tumbling neck breaker out of the corner, too. I think that's a pretty sweet spot. And of course, that you can't speak highly enough about the imploding 450. That thing is beautiful, and I think I think Daivari, he's just a guy, just a bland guy. He's got the old school throwback foreigner gimmick, and it's sort of whatever, right? I don't think people are so much to boo that nowadays. But you never know, I guess, depending on the crowd. And Mustafa Ali, I think, is a great talent. He's very easy to get behind, mostly because I think they let him do what people assume cruiserweight should do, and that's let him fly and be flippy and do all the stuff. And I think that's something that they definitely hit upon again in the main event.
Yeah, certainly, because you'll get to see him in the main event with the rest of the guys. But before then, we find out that Grim Metalik is going to make his 205 Live debut next week. Can't wait for that. Whew, feels like we're going to waiting forever for him to show up, and finally does.
I'm so ready.
Exactly. It's going to be awesome times to get him in here. And you get Brian Kendrick cutting a promo here to call himself the gatekeeper of 205 Live. He says it just like that, no mincing words. And he's sniffing out everybody's dreams, apparently, including Lince Dorado. He's next on that track. And the funny thing is you find out afterwards that Austin Aries asked, well, what about Akira Tozawa? Why is he not on the list? And he says, hey, we bonded, and we've got a special thing going on. And Tajiri does show up afterwards and missed Kendrick in the face. I thought the match was good between the two guys. Once again, Dorado losing here, which seems to be a lot of what he does. Not everybody can be a winner, I guess, but
Mhm.
Brian Kendrick doing his thing, and you continue the feud with Tajiri.
Yeah, and Lindsay, I think, is another one that they sort of hit upon something with, too, because they let him go out and do all the things that people expect. And I understand you don't want everybody to do that because you want everybody to feel different, but I think the more you let him do things like Lindsay and Mustafa do, the better off they're going to be. And Brian works great in his heel role because he simply doesn't do that. He's very much big holds and chokes and beating you up, and I think that works very well for him. This match is fine. It's nothing we haven't seen before either, guys. And Tajiri coming back, I thought was great. And Kendrick selling the mist like he died is exactly what you want.
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Like, he just, oh my God, this got misted again. It's terrible.
Might have been screaming louder than Okada on Sunday. Might
Yeah.
have been.
Wow. That's something to say right there for
Yeah.
your. And, I said that, a few weeks ago when you had the Cedric Alexander and Neville match, that was the best match that we'd seen on 205 Live. Well, this Fatal 5-Way might have just edged it out. This was absolute great match. Of course, this was the elimination variety. I think it was Noam Dar was the first one to get eliminated, and then he kind of came back in to make sure that Cedric got eliminated, as you would expect, I think. And then you get Mustafa Ali get eliminated, and you get the last two with T.J. Perkins and Jack Gallagher, and Gallagher wins to become the number one contender to face Neville. So you got the two British guys going against each other. That should be a sight to see, because Neville wasn't very happy about the Jack Gallagher at all. But man, there was so much going on here, so much great stuff. Cedric looked great as always. Noam Dar finally got to kind of shed the gimmick and do some stuff that we're used to seeing. Nobody looked bad here, and you got I didn't think Gallagher was gonna win. I expected somebody else, so I was surprised.
I was expecting either him or Cedric to come out of this, and I was leaning more towards Cedric, but they decided to bring up let him and Dar continue to screw each other over, so I guess that's not over with. Mustafa got to look great. Jack Gallagher was the star, though. The Mary Poppins dive with the umbrella and everything onto everybody was just perfect. It was just perfect. And it really got the crowd behind him early, and they stayed behind him. He even got Mary Poppins chant, which is pretty funny. I think Perkins continued to hold the match together. I think that was his entire job here, and I think he did that extremely well. Dead Nation kicks for everybody. Him and Gallagher, where they did the Dead Nation kick and then exchanged it with a headbutt that Shibata would have been proud of from Gallagher. There's not enough great things to say about it. This is super, super good. Absolutely, I think this is the best match 205 Live has done.
Yeah, and I mean, the part of it too was you got a lot of what you've been saying, the theme of this show of the cruiserweights got to do things you would expect cruiserweights to do.
Mm-hmm.
They got to do stuff you'd see in the X Division, but not so choreographed. It
Right.
felt like this literally could be happening, because you really were going to go inside the ring, and then you really could have a guy fly over another guy and hit him, or the big tower spot that you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it, and if they were trying to keep most of the guys involved all at once, I mean, yeah, kind of. I think once you got a couple of the guys eliminated, it did become sort of the formulaic thing, but that's a little small thing to really hate on it for. This was tremendous. Really go watch this awesome main event, and let's see if the singles match can compare at all. So far, we've had some good singles matches on the pay-per-views. We haven't had anything blow away.
Hmm. I completely agree, and I I think I don't know if this is going to be it. I love Neville, and I think his newer style will work well with Gallagher. I think, and they're certainly at least liable to get the most crowd interaction they have, because I think Gallagher by far might be the most over guy on the roster now, behind Neville. I think they had the right two guys in there as far as the crowd goes. The content is what I'm a little worried about, but these guys, they know what they're doing. They're going to go out there. They're going to put on a good match. Whether it crosses the 4-star territory or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's also about time of what time would they get on Fastlane? Would they be in a spot where they could really showcase themselves, or is it just going to be a way to get cool down for something else that they deem more important? That's always something to look at when it comes to the where you're at in the card, what's ahead of you, what's already happened before you. I mean, I really did feel like with this show, you might have finally gotten what you would. Everything was solid, everything mattered. The main event was great. I don't know that you had anything to hate on for this show, and that's what you hope you want every week for 205 Live.
Absolutely. I think you really have a good core of guys that they've established and are working around right now, and sort of have some hanger honors here and there. And of course, you still have the new debuts coming in, like Tozawa is still looking to establish himself, and you're gonna have Grand Metalik come in next week, and you have the thing with Tajiri and Kendrick going on. So I think things are starting to cook a little over here on 205 Live, and I don't know. I'm excited to watch it every week. It's such an easy hour to get through, but it still doesn't feel like we've had that big superstar yet really jump out at us. And Neville, I think, is close to that, but I don't think we're at that level where people are starting to care about this division yet.
No, certainly not. I do think the crowds are starting to care, which that's good. Because you want the crowds to get involved with these guys. You're staying after SmackDown is over to watch them. You would hope that you're going to try to get invested in their match. They did get the "This is awesome" chant for the main event, which again, a nice barometer for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you that we don't have the big star yet, but you have guys in waiting. The Nevilles, the Gallaghers, the Mustafa Alis, the Tozawas, and Metalik, I'm sure will, if he gets to do the things he got to do in the Cruiserweight Classic, he'll get over as well. I don't know. I wonder if the crowds are kind of burned on luchadors right now, but if anybody can make it work, Metalik certainly can.
Yeah.
So, I don't know that there's much else to talk about. Their showcase is not till March, as far as what they're going to do next pay-per-view wise. But yeah, I feel like you, this is an easy hour to watch, but it was hard at first, and then now they've slowly been able to. They get into a rhythm, get things going, get these guys mattering. And I mean, as much as silly it is that thing between Aries and damn it, I can't think of it. Aries and
Tony
Mr.
Nese?
Premier, yeah, Tony Nese with the I don't have a personality and that's my personality. That normally doesn't work for people, but hey, they're giving him something to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and I really want to see what happens when Austin Aries gets healthy and he gets in here too.
I think he's somebody that you're going to have a lot of people sort of at least interested in, not only because of the past connections, of course, to all the other places he's been, but he's somebody that they really focused on at least trying to put out in front of people's eyes and faces and trying to at least get them familiar with him. So I think that's going to be extremely helpful whenever he does finally debut.
The interesting contrast between him and Neville is going to be something because he's not the same kind of heel that Neville is, but obviously having two strong heels like that, that's going to be one of those, you don't see that all the time.
Right, and I mean they've built a really heel heavy top of the card really so far with Kendrick and Neville now, and then when Aries comes in, and that's great because I think it's harder to build heels in a cruiserweight style where people are supposed to be exciting and stuff like that, and it's easier to get behind those guys than it is to create a real good heel out of the division. So I think they've done well there for the most part. Obviously, you look at somebody like Davari, and it's sort of like, man, what are you guys doing? But Numdar, I think, is entertaining too for his spot too.
Yeah, you get the chicken shit heel, that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get some strong heels, you get the chicken shit heel, you get the other guys, so it all seems to be heading towards a really good path for them, and once you get Metalik, let's see if they bring anybody else into the fold, you know.
Right.
Some now hints that WWE might not only going after Ricochet as we've known for a long time, but King Cuerno too.
Mm-hmm.
So would they? I mean, he's a lot bigger to go in this division but interesting to bring more lucha guys in here.
Right.
But all right, until next week, as they inch ever closer to Fastlane, we'll see you guys later, everybody.
Have a good one, guys.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.